Guys, I think we're locked in here.
Hello, partiers. I have resurrected from beyond the grave to come to tell you, partiers, that you have reached a door in my spooky haunted house.
This week in the haunted house has been so busy trying to escape that I didn't have time to film a proper vlog. So for this week, I'll just give you an update of where we are and hopefully I'll be back to vlogging our progress next week. So basically what happened since last time I spoke to you is that we reached the second door and we were given 2 prompts by the terrifying ghost of Kaylee. So the first option was to read a book in which the synopsis reminded you of one of the co-hosts, and the other option was to read a book from an author you've never read before. So like last time, I looked for a book that could fit either prompt so that I could log it depending on the progress that other people were making as well. So I chose a book that I already returned to the library, but that was Black Mamba by William Friend. So this is of course an author I've never read before. This is actually his debut novel, and the last bit of the synopsis says, it explores both the limits we'll go for children and the sunken taboos of grief. And grief is one of the favorite themes that our co-host Lauren from the Vacationers team likes to explore in her reading. I don't want to go into much detail about this book right now because I think I'm going to film a dedicated review. But I'll tell you that it is about a man who recently lost his wife and he is left with 2 twin daughters. They are about 8. And one day the twins tell him that they have an imaginary friend called Black Mamba. And Black Mamba starts becoming an increasingly strong presence in their family dynamics to the point that is being hurtful to the twins and the dad as well. So yes, it is grief horror, but at times it is also a bit of a haunted house story and obviously creepy kid story. And then we start finding out that it is also about family secrets. I really liked this book. I was actually very hooked and I read it in 2 days, which is quite unusual for me. I ended up giving it 4 stars, but if you're curious about this, I would recommend staying tuned for my full review because I don't think I recommend it to everyone. It is very confusing and ambiguous, so I can definitely see how this would be frustrating for some people. However, here's the tragedy of the situation. I literally had about 10 pages left of my book when the door was unlocked. So I actually wasn't able to log it for any of the prompts, but I did ended up just submitting it as a mood read as we progress through room 3. So for the third room, I also finally finished and submitted Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. And as predicted, this was a 5-star for me. I absolutely loved it. And because I loved it so much, I immediately purchased the audiobook for the prequel, which is called Rolling in the Deep. I also loved it because it is very well written, just like Into the Drowning Deep. I think Mira Grant writes science horror excellently. Excellently? Is excellently a word? Anyways, she is very good at it. But because it is a prequel, you already know what is up with the mermaids, what they are, how they work, etc, etc. So it obviously didn't have that element of surprise that really took the original book into 5-star territory for me. And if you are interested in these books, I would definitely recommend reading the prequel after you read Into the Drowning Deep. But in any case, I had a blast listening to this as well and I gave it 4 stars. And if you want to know more detail about these books, I am also planning a dedicated video about Mira Grant's books. But I still want to read one or two more of them. So if you have any favorite Mira Grant books, please let me know in the comments what your recommendation would be for me. And finally, I finished Jawbone by Mónica Ojeda, which is a very literary horror story. The main plotline is about a teacher who has kidnapped one of her teenage students. And throughout the book, we find out the chain of events that led them to this situation. And we explore mainly the friendship between the kidnapped girl and her best friend, which is a very intense friendship to the point where it becomes quite toxic and violent. This book is a wild ride of alternating timelines and points of views, unreliable narrators. It is often unclear what is real and what is not real, but I thought that it very effectively explored themes of growing up, going through puberty, also the often complicated dynamics of female friendships, dysfunctional mother-daughter relationships, and an exploration of women's bodies from a monstrous feminine perspective. So basically an exploration about how women often experience their normal bodily functions as violent, one, because they are often taboo to talk about, and that often leads to them sometimes being painful and therefore scary. It was super impactful for me. It often made me very uncomfortable, sometimes very on edge, and sometimes just very sad. And I don't presume to say that I understood every single message from this book, but what I managed to absorb left me absolutely shaken. So, of course, next up, I'm wanting to read something a bit more lighthearted, and what I've chosen for that is Voices in the Snow by Darcy Coates. I won't be vlogging much about this because this is going on a separate vlog, but I'll probably give you some brief updates, just whether I liked it or not. So that's my weekly update for The Haunted House. I think Team Partiers are absolutely killing it, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna be able to escape before anyone else. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
Boo!